The massive oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico has reportedly reached the U.S. state of Louisiana. Well, BP is preparing for a huge operation to avert an environmental catastrophe. The enormous amount of crude has been leaking daily since the devastating explosion off the U.S. coast almost 2 weeks ago. On Thursday, a giant funnel will be installed at the scene to channel oil from the seabed to the surface, where it can be collected safely. However, with the energy company itself not sure it will even work, some Russian experts say a radical solution from Soviet history could be a way out. Yekaterina Azarova has the details.
A pillar of fire, 120 meters tall. That alone is tough to extinguish, but when the fire is fueled by natural gas, it becomes pretty much impossible. In 1963, one of the Soviet Union's gas-rich locations was badly drilled. This was the result, with the flame burning for 3 years, the intensity never waning. All possible ways of fighting the flames were tried, to no avail.
It's 12 million cubic meters of gas burning daily. Now multiply that by 3 years. And the price of gas. Nothing worked. The flames were unstoppable. So our boss, the Minister of Nuclear Energy, came to us and said, "Boys, let's help out." And we did.
The offered solution? A nuclear explosion. Now that, to a layman, might sound like swapping a big problem for an even bigger one. But is that the case?
Think of it as a doctor's case. You have a small problem, you take some pills, maybe stay in hospital for a while. But if the problem is incredibly serious, you will probably have to undergo surgery. This is what we were, surgeons. It was a last resort, but it worked.
It was nowhere as easy as it sounds, however. Although peaceful nuclear explosions had been tested in both the Soviet Union and the United States by this point, to use a nuclear device for such a measure was a first.
The idea was to drill a small angled shaft and set off the bomb so that the explosion would block the leak. But people weren't sure where to drill because no one knew where exactly the pipe leak was. And it was so loud, you can't imagine what a fire like this sounds like. Worse than 100 jet planes all at once. Difficult to access, difficult to work close to. It was a tough job.
Despite these problems, all went well. The leak was closed, the method pronounced effective, and later used on several other similar problems.
The explosion should be carried out above the leaking hole. After the blast, the hole seals up. It's similar to stopping the oxygen supply in a human being.
Now, some have already suggested that this approach could help stop the catastrophic oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico.
If the explosive element fits the well, then it's possible to use it in this case. Anyway, workers in the Gulf need to tie up the well where oil leaks out, and there are 2 possible ways to do it: a nuclear explosion or another well.
But the situations are very different. The Soviet gas leak was in the middle of a desert with not much flora and fauna to suffer from potential after effects. The Gulf's wildlife is already critically damaged by the leak, but a nuclear explosion, however small, may add to the ecological disaster rather than prevent it. Katerina Azarova, RT, Moscow.